Welcome to This Just In with This Just In as your host, Justin Core. This is a show where we take a deeper dive into the issues most important to you with the people who bring you those stories and issues. And today on This Just In, a first-time guest or correspondent, it is Mellisa Paul, host of Idaho Today right here on KTVB. Mellisa, welcome.
Thank you, Justin. I'm so super excited.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe temper that excitement. This is a pretty bare bones operation, but I appreciate it. First thing we got to do, though, normally we have our KTVB Plus mugs.
Yes.
No, changing that out. You already got your throwback Idaho Today mug.
I do.
And you just gifted me this Idaho Today mug. So boom.
How sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I might sneak those KTVB
Yay.
Plus. I mean, we're still on KTVB Plus, but yes. Right now, just as an homage and a nod to you. Thanks for coming on again.
Yes.
You're a local gal.
I am.
You graduated from the Boise State University.
Go Orange and Blue. Yep.
With a degree, go Orange, go Big Blue, fight, win, BSU. A degree in theater.
Theater. Yes.
When did you fall in love with performing?
That's a loaded question. Okay,
Jeez,
so...
Well, I didn't think these would be tough, but I'm going to grill you, Mellisa.
Seriously, when did I fall in love with performing? Okay, so traditionally... I actually I was kind of thrust into performance, actually. So at the heart of everything, I'd say I'm a scientist, first and foremost, believe it or not. I wanted to be a doctor. I loved science. I was an athlete. And then I blew out my knee when I was 17, 18, which completely changed the trajectory of my scholarships and my academics and what I was going to do. I was going to go.
What were you doing? What sport?
I was going to do, I was offered either swimming or track. Yeah.
Wow.
But then I completely destroyed my knee, which is a whole other story. And then...
I only got time.
Oh, yeah. Here's the list of questions. We don't got time, baby.
It's maybe too much. All right.
Yes, yeah. No. But so I ended up needing to find a new way to fund my scholarships. Okay. And what ended up happening was somebody said to me, you should do the Miss Idaho program. Now, I had dabbled in theater just a little bit in high school.
Okay.
What had happened was I always appreciated performance and acting. I did music. I sang and played an instrument since I was in elementary school. So always experienced and exposed to music. But as far as like stage performance itself, my friends were really into theater. And in one situation, my friend asked me to audition to read opposite of her for her audition. I got cast. And so then I really liked performance in high school. It wasn't until my senior year, really, my junior, senior year is when I really got involved in theater. And then I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun. But I really wanted to be a doctor. I really wanted to major in science. I wanted to be a physician. Yeah. I love medicine. I love science. Yeah. And went to Albertson College of Idaho at the time, now College of Idaho. And went there on academics scholarships for my freshman year. But they were all freshman-based scholarships, which meant by the time I was going to turn to a sophomore, a lot of my funding would go. And for anyone who knows, the private colleges are ridiculously expensive. Yes. Ridiculously expensive. And so I had to find another way to fund my college education. And again, was going to major in biology and wanted to become a physician. Yeah. But my best friend at the time, she was a theater major, and she's like, hey, I want to audition for this play. Will you read opposite of me? And I'm like, absolutely. Did that. I got cast. She didn't. And then the chair of the theater department's like, you don't want to be a med student. You want to perform. And I go, yes, I do, Joe Golden. Thank you. For letting me see the light.
You did it.
He's still there. And then I became a theater major, and I fell in love with performance at that point and realized I had an ability. And then I needed to fund my scholarships, right? Because my freshman year, everything ran out. And then the Miss Idaho program was offering a scholarship to College of Idaho. And I was like, oh, sweet, I'll do that. Did not take it seriously, honestly. I did not take it very seriously. I looked at it as an opportunity to win scholarships, because what a lot of people don't realize about the Miss America organization is it is the largest, or at least it was at the time. I think it may still be, but don't quote me on that because I haven't looked into it recently. But it was at one time the largest source of scholarships for women in the world. Mm-hmm. And most women who compete in Miss Idaho and Miss America organization, that's how they pay for their college education. My sister-in-law is one of them. She competed for 6 years, and her college education is completely paid for.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I did not know her at the time, but I just heard, I'm like, oh, well, they have a scholarship for College of Idaho, Albertson College of Idaho. I'm like, I'll compete. So I took my swim team Speedo. I took my a dress I got at Ross that my mom and I literally used a hot glue gun and glitter and applied.
Ross dress for less.
It was Ross dress for less, baby.
Great
I think
job,
it was
Ross.
$20. I wore it to prom, and I just zhuzhed it up with some hot glue and glitter. And
Wow.
then I did a monologue. Though I was classically trained as a vocalist, I can sing classical, but everybody sang at Miss Idaho and at these locals.
A lot of that I've heard. Yes.
Yes. And so I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I'm going to do something fun. Because again, I didn't care to win. I just wanted to get in the court and get scholarships.
You're just there for the cash, baby.
I was there for the cash, baby. And so I showed up and I did my first local, and I did Malin from Steel Magnolias, which was a play I did in high school.
Nice.
So I played Malin, and I ended up winning my first local, which was, my first local was Boise. I was second runner-up.
Okay.
The executive director, Brenda Tanabe at the time, came up to me after my first local, and she's like, that was my favorite monologue of all time I've ever seen. She's like, you need to compete in this local coming up. And I'm like, okay. And so she's like, come to Miss Tri-Counties. It's like in a week or two. And typically you'd have to take a month to prepare for a pageant because they require you to go through this program. But she's like, I'll waive the program. You just show up and do this. And I'm like, okay. So
You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Totally,
Mellisa.
right? Yeah. So apparently I was ready with my Speedo and my prom dress with glue and glitter. And I showed up at Tri-Counties and competed and won that. And then I went to Miss Idaho and won my first year. And at the time, I was only the second woman in the state history to win her first go-around.
Wow.
And it was the 50th anniversary of the program, which was super cool. But I was really young. I was only 19. I had no idea what I was doing, Justin. Clearly no idea.
I mean,
But it was
apparently
fun.
you did because you won it.
I did something right, right? Which I honestly think was the fact that I was just so focused on having a good time and being myself and my authentic self that I didn't get too in my head, right? Because there's these young women that compete and do a lot of things on stage, regardless of what it is. If you get too into your head, that's where you muck it up, right?
Yeah. Might be the key to broadcasting. Just being yourself.
Just being yourself.
Which
you got it.
Is tough.
Yeah, it can be, right? Yeah, but
when you
learning
figure
to
out,
be
it's like, I'm just going to allow myself to
and
be myself.
I think it's the fear of judgment, and it's the fear of people, being vulnerable is hard.
Yeah.
And scary. It's scary. But it is incredibly important, and I think probably the most important part when it comes to connecting with people, and especially when it comes to storytelling, right? But anywho, so when did I fall in love with performance, Justin?
Was that the question?
That was the question.
No.
It was.
I
I was
wrote so
kind
many
of
questions down. You're right. I probably needed two.
I got thrust into performance pretty much,
Nice.
and I think it chose me. So
Fantastic.
there you go. Because I wanted to be a doctor.
but instead, yes, went to Boise State.
Yeah.
Theater. That is awesome. We're going to talk maybe a little bit more about Miss Idaho, but first we got to talk more about your education. You also, incredibly, you went to Oxford, the Oxford School of Drama in England. That one.
Yes.
That one.
And because of it, I cannot say
Oxford.
the word milk or pillow correctly without focusing on it. I say milk and pillow. Seriously, my family makes so much fun of
milk
me.
and pillow?
Yes.
Like with E's instead of I's.
Yes. Say, hand me the pillow. I cannot. Seriously, it's such a bad habit. My kids, my husband finds, apparently there's a meme going around on TikTok or something where or it's a video. I don't know. I'm really bad with this like jargon when it comes to those things. But
You got it. Yeah, it's video. Yeah.
there's these gentlemen and they're talking about milk in the fridge. And someone's like, will you hand me the milk? And he's like, the what?
The milk.
And then somebody else says, the milk. And he's like, the what? And he's like, it's milk. And he's like, no, it's what I said. He's like, no, you said milk. And they're going back and forth about the pronunciation because I get it wrong.
It's fine. We have weird accents,
Yes.
even in the United States, even in the Northwest. Like
Yes.
there's a Northwest accent.
Yes.
It's hard to hear, but you hear it on mountain, right?
And fur. What is that for instead of for? What are you doing that for?
Fur, yeah.
They say fur instead of for.
What's that
Oh,
for?
yeah. Yeah, it's total regionalism.
Yeah, and it's mountain instead of mountain.
Yep.
Yeah.
And crick. There's a lot of
crick.
A lot of regionalisms here. Yes. Yeah. But the Oxford School of Drama, to be very clear, I did not study science there. It was the Oxford School of Drama. So it was a program in association with Stanford, and we were housed across the street from Oxford. Now, we did stuff associated with Oxford and stuff, but it was mainly, it was a program. And so I would go out each day to the studios outside of Oxford. Believe it or not, it's the actual studios where the Who recorded and performed.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was really cool. But that program itself was a whirlwind. It was just, it was so unique because, again, kind of thrust upon me. So fast forward, that's me fasting forward, on the theater stuff. So locally, what ended up happening after Miss America, I ended up joining a local repertory theater called the Red Act Repertory was in Los Angeles. This was New Heritage Theater Company. And Sandy Kavanaugh oversaw it. And then our advisors were Anthony Hopkins was one of them, and so was Olympia Dukakis. So Sandy brought Olympia here to Boise. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Yeah. And so we got to work with Olympia and do stuff. And then Anthony Hopkins came, which he really liked my mom. That was interesting. It's a whole other story. But having advisors...
almost had a gossip column headline, but I guess we're moving on.
Yes, because he was dating Martha Stewart at the time. We won't talk about that. But but anyway, seriously, they had a banquet and he just kept hitting on my mom. It was weird. But Olympia
You can keep talking
Anthony,
about that if you want. That's very juicy.
I'd be very careful. But at the time, they were advising some of the students and the actors within New Heritage, and Olympia and Anthony both suggested that I either go to Stella Adler, NYU, or if I could get in the Oxford School of Drama in England. Anthony actually, I believe, if I remember this correctly, please do not quote me on this, but he, I think, was at the Royal National Theatre for a while, and that's how he met Sandy. But anyway, so he had some strong connections in England and was like really trying to encourage that path. So this program, they had auditions around the world. They had it in Glasgow, Paris, Seattle, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, and there was one other city. But at the time, I was a completely broke theater major at Boise State and could not afford to fly anywhere to audition for a program. So Sandy got approval through Tony that I do an audition on a VHS tape, because that was a thing at the time still, if you guys remember what those are.
Yeah.
And so I did an audition, and then he wrote a letter of endorsement for me to the program. And so I got into the Oxford School of Drama, because there was only, I think they only had 30 openings worldwide, and I actually got in. Yeah. So, I mean, I had some people in my corner.
Your boy Tony Hopkins really
totally came through. But it was an incredible program. We did some really amazing stuff. And because of that, I have a specialization in Shakespearean acting. So it was really cool. It was an amazing program. Been very, very blessed throughout my time.
You contain multitudes because you're also a meteorologist. Certification from Mississippi State University. What spoke to you about weather?
Oh, boy. So that's a big... So, again, like I said, hang on, Justin.
I'm trying to. So, what a whirlwind.
I grew up loving science and weather, largely from my father. I honestly remember fishing with him here in Idaho, like when I was like 4 or 3, and him teaching me erosion. And I kid you not, I have a memory from kindergarten of sitting in a science class and the teacher going, "Do you guys know what this is?" And it's a spider with a web. And I'd be like, "A web." And she's like, "Great job." And then we got to like rocks or something, and she was pointing to rocks, and they were broken down rocks into sediment. And she goes, "Do you know what this is?" And I'm like, "It's erosion." And I remember her being like, "Excuse me?" You know, because of my dad, right? My dad taught me. I love science. And we eventually ended up living in Minnesota when I was a kid for my father. My father helped build the Mall of America. He did Camp Snoopy.
Wow.
So we lived on a lake for about 3 years. And if anyone knows anything about Minnesota, there's a lot of severe weather, a lot of mesoscale cyclones, right? Like lots of tornadoes, lots of blizzards, 50-degree below wind chill, right? I mean, I'm not kidding when I say when we lived at this lake, there was families around the lake. One family actually died in their front yard because there was such a bad blizzard. They could not find their house. everyone had big lots, right? So we had like 2 acres and the house
Nice.
was tucked up against the lake shore. So when you got snow, you couldn't get down your driveway. And so families sometimes would have to park and then like snowshoe or walk into the house. But this family, the blizzard was so dense that they died in their front yard.
That's awful.
Because they just kept walking in a circle. They couldn't find their home. Yeah. So, I mean, like legit severe weather. I've been in tornadoes. I remembered riding in the school bus when I was a kid in Minnesota. No kidding, because I lived out, like I said, out in the lake. It was a half hour between Lincoln Elementary School and Faribault, Minnesota. Oh, darn tootin', I could bring it back for you.
Every time you say Minnesota, it sounds Minnesota.
Yeah, so I would be in the bus, and we had an emergency plan with the bus driver. We would, the emergency plan was we drop the kids off in town, and then I would have to ride with the bus driver out to my house on the lake. And if there was severe weather, we had to have a plan on like what to do in the event of a tornado touching down. So literally the bus driver and I would have to either hide in a ditch.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in the bus and looking out on the horizon and just watching funnel clouds touch and go up and touch and go up and just go, oh, I wonder if I'm going to have to hide in a ditch, you know? But being in storm cellars and the rain coming in and water flooding and just all of it, I loved it though. I loved it. I never was scared. I remember riding my bike, watching like wall clouds approaching and just being ecstatic and like just trying to chase them. And my mom screaming at me because she was terrified, going, get inside. So I love weather. And then, so when I got into broadcasting, fast forward many, many years, I didn't pursue that because, as you know, life pushed me in a completely different direction. But then when life brought me back to, you know, out of the acting world and then back into broadcast, and then there was this opportunity to fill in for Scott Dorval because at the time I was a radio DJ at the X, and Scott wanted to go on vacation to Cabo. And they're like,
as one does, sure.
Yep. And they're like, hey, like Mellisa has on-camera experience because I knew from my acting background, my time in LA and stuff. And they're like, hey, and do you like science? I'm like, oh, I love science. I'm a total geek. Can you maybe step in for Scott just for a few days while he goes on vacation? So they trained me on just the wall and presentation for weather. But Scott was really excited because he's like, oh my God, you actually know weather. Like you
Nice.
understand this.
Yeah.
And so then I filled in, and then literally a few weeks after filling in for Scott, I came in because it was Big J and Bill and I on the X in the morning.
Ah, Big J, yeah.
Yep. Still there, still at the X. He's like a brother to me. Love my Big J. I came into work and they're like, hey, we canceled your guys' morning show. Mellisa, you're going over, we're going to broadcast Man Cow. And Mellisa, you're going over to KIVI. And I'm like, I'm a what? And they're like, yeah, you're going to report and do weather on the weekends. And I'm like, okay. And that was the beginning of my broadcast career. Yeah.
Well, at least they had something else for you.
Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah. And then from that, I went and studied communications, though, and ethical journalism and all that good stuff.
Good to have that foundation.
It's important.
We almost skipped right over it. You were the first full-time female radio personality at KQXR.
Yes.
At just 19 years old. Did you have a radio voice?
No.
Did you change?
Yes. Do you want to hear my radio voice? Here we go. Hi, I'm Mellisa. That's my radio voice.
Because that's your actual voice.
That's my actual voice. No, I did not have a radio voice. Yeah. And the opportunity in radio came from my promotional tour at Miss Idaho. Because,
Nice.
you go on a promotional tour. And so I would do a bunch of radio interviews and TV interviews, and Journal Broadcast Group at the time, which owned 100.3 The X, they appreciated my gab ability, I guess. And they're like, hey, we would like to train you on the weekend to do some radio. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, that sounds like fun.
That is awesome. Spent a lot of time up here in news, telling stories. What would you like about just being a storyteller?
I think the through line between all my life experiences, regardless if it's acting, if it's meteorology, if it's hosting lifestyle as a manager. A lot of people don't know that. Actually, I'm a manager as well here. I'm a lifestyle manager, and I was also a manager in Sacramento at my last show. Was community director. So as a community director and doing community events, all of it, the through line is connecting with people. I truly care about people. Like, I love people. I do. I love people. I love humanity. I love the fact that we have more in common than what divides us. And I love highlighting that and helping people remember that it's okay to relate, right? And I love telling people's stories because humans, we are social beings and we learn from each other. That's what I love about storytelling.
That is awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the pull quote.
Quote.
For the both side tease for that. Well done. Yeah. You touched on it. You were down in Sacramento for a little while. What were you doing down there?
For about a decade. Yeah.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah. So I originally went over to Sacramento as a meteorologist. I was a weekday morning and midday meteorologist and fill-in news anchor in the morning for 2 years. And then at the time, my agent was really trying to push me to go back to LA and Indianapolis, which I was a mom. So I became a mom really quickly in my broadcast career with my first. And when we lived in Sacramento, my child was barely 1, and I really wanted to be in a market where there's family because I wanted to raise my kid at least around family. And so that was also the decision of where we were going to go in regards to my career with progression is I was only going to live in markets where I knew I could have a family unit. And that's one reason why we decided to go to Sacramento opposed to other cities. And one of the other reasons why I was like, I do not want to go to LA because at the time I did not have family in LA. And so my 2-year contract was getting ready to come up. I was going to go, but then the powers that be saw something in me, and which will always be blessed and grateful for, and said, hey, instead of you jumping market to market, doing what you're doing, we're going to create a whole new opportunity for you. How about we make you a manager? You can be community director, and we'll give you the lifestyle show.
Nice.
And you can take that over and develop it. So it was originally a half hour, and then we grew it to a full hour, and it was incredibly successful and a ton of fun. We had a really amazing relationship with the Disney Corporation. Ooh. And we would do live broadcasts from Disney properties like every other month.
Nice.
It was amazing. It was absolutely incredible, and give away free trips to Disney, and something I hope to bring here. Side note, my Disney friends. Side note, but
Disney, if you're not advertising on this JustIN, maybe you should.
But no, it was incredible, and as community director, it just the opportunity to continue to make that impact in the community and bringing betterment for everyone, especially marginalized populations, was just so fulfilling and really grateful. But then very transparently, the show was getting so big and the demand was so great that I would have to fly my mom and dad in to Sacramento, like literally every other month to help with childcare and watch my kids so I could travel and do stuff, which was just not really sustainable after 10 years, right? And when corporate offered the opportunity to come home and here and develop what I had developed there, it was now or never, right? It's like, I got to go now or I stay here forever. And so I was like, nope, we're going to go and we're going to see what's going to happen at home, because in that way I can actually be in my home market with all my family and my friends and do what I love, which has always been my goal.
Yeah. Well, and Boise is lucky to have you back.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And for Sacramento, don't know what to tell you. Go pound sand.
No. I love Sacramento. Sacramento's awesome. It is. It's a great place.
It's nice. It's no Boise. It's no Idaho. So there is that. For those who haven't seen Idaho Today, the show you came back here for.
Yes.
What's it about?
Idaho Today is, well, first of all, on the surface, it is about celebrating everything that makes Idaho great. It's about uplifting the nonprofits and the organizations that give back to our communities. It's about uplifting the businesses that, build our economy and help our state grow and prosper and help our communities grow and prosper. It's about elevating and uplifting those in our community that make a big difference, as in just individuals, right? Like celebrating. It's about celebrating the arts, obviously. Big fan of the arts. Talking about opportunities and deals. In the heart of all of it, though, Justin, it's about supplying our viewers with the best information that they need so they can navigate their life as successfully as possible, right? And that's either with, how do you save money with this deal, or the latest information on heart health, or menopause with Mom Matters. You should tune in and check it out. Or with, childcare advice to beauty tips. We all deserve to feel great. That's a part of mental health and wellness. But making sure you have all the tools that you need so you can best navigate your life to the best of your ability and make it as successful as possible.
Wow. Fantastic.
That's the deep part.
Sounds like a lot of pressure. You've had a lot of great interviews on Idaho Today and down in Sacramento. Besides me, what's your favorite celebrity interaction? Because you talked to Harrison Ford, Michael Rooker, Greta Gerwig. Do you have a favorite?
Michael Rooker was a lot of fun. That's Yondu, by the way, if you're unfamiliar with Michael Rooker and Days of Thunder. Because he was actually a martial arts expert, and we were doing some martial arts.
Was he really? Michael Rooker?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh my gosh, my favorite, probably Tom Cruise, was really funny.
Wow.
I was on this, it was in my acting days, not my broadcast career days, because I actually have a history as well as an actor and working in the music industry for Warner Chappell and music publishing and stuff. So there was I have a lot of history there. But with Tom Cruise, set as Last Samurai, he was the first person I met, flew in his baristas, so we had fresh coffee every day for the shoot.
He had personal baristas?
Yeah, from New York that he liked, so he flew him in and just kept him there for everybody who was working.
That's nice.
Movie. Yeah,
that everybody could use him.
Yeah, and then so he brought Connor and Bella, and at the time he was dating Penelope Cruz, and so there was real Gatling guns too on set, obviously, and so he was really enthralled with them, and we were looking at them. Yeah, for Last Time, because it was the warehouse scene, so it was really cool. It was super cool. That was a good one. Lars Ulrich, probably from Metallica, was really cool. I hired my boyfriend at the time to take him for a run at the Gorge.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. That's a loaded question. It's a very loaded question.
It was loaded.
Yes. Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains made me a piece of art out of a deli tray once. That was fun too. So
I'll have to get a picture of that. Okay. Once more, before we leave, where can people find Idaho Today? And it's a tradition. I always ask people, what would your entrance music or walk-up music be?
Oh, man.
Understanding that we can't play it because we don't have the rights to
the plug, because we only got 90 seconds. Okay, so Idaho Today, Monday through Friday, right here on KTVB, Idaho's News Channel 7. You can watch it at 12:30. We also rebroadcast on 24/7 at 1:30, again at 5:30 p.m. And then you can watch us on YouTube and all the streaming, Roku, social, Facebook, Instagram. Look for Idaho Today.
KTVB
and then
Plus.
KTVB Plus, right there, baby. Idaho Today and the number 7. We love to give away free stuff because, again, it's about you living your best life, right? So if we can help you save money by giving you free experiences that otherwise you may not have, items or events and opportunities, we're going to do it to help you out. I guess my entrance music would probably be Celebrate. Celebration time, come on. Because I like to celebrate. I don't know. I'm just pulling that out. I have so many favorite songs. I can't pick.
That would be great. One. Yeah,
sure.
That's perfect. It's jumpy. It's lively. Melissa,
there you go.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Mr. Core, thank you. It's been fun.
Mr. Core, so formal now. All righty, fine. I thought we had a connection, but I guess not. If you have any comments or questions for this Just In, text us right here at 208-321-5614. Use the hashtag JustIn. Let us know what you think. Any questions for Melissa or anyone else? Really appreciate it, Melissa.
Just
See you next
time
on KTVB Plus. Bye.